Good morning, Dr. Julie.
Good morning.
How are you today?
I'm good.
Yeah, I really like your vest. I think you look really, really pretty today.
Thanks.
You've got on your spots.
You have on your camo.
Yep, I just came from hunting with my son, with Brecken, so we had a really nice time. But I wanted to talk to you today about customer service.
That's a good one.
Yep. Hey everybody, welcome back to the Prime Podcast. I am your host, Dr. Skip Weiss, and I am with the fabulous, amazing Dr. Fairy Fingers, the BDC certified coach, Dr. Julie Weiss. She is the rock, the anchor to our practice. She is probably one of the most vital people into the success that we are and why we are so successful. I owe so much to you, Julie. You've been absolutely amazing. And I think there's something that I want to talk about today with customer service that you are impeccable at, and it's making our clients feel very, very special. How do you do it?
Well, I know how I like to be treated.
Okay.
So I just make sure everybody feels that same way.
Right. And I think it's something that is missed a lot inside customer service, inside client retention and client service, is just making people feel incredibly special all the time. And to not miss the small things. I think that is one of the biggest things. And I've got a few points to go over first today, but I think number one I want to talk about is not missing the small things. And could you elaborate that on a little bit more as far as what do you think are some smaller things that always get overlooked in client-based service industries, whether it's chiropractic or massage or healthcare or even owning a restaurant? Like, what are the small things that we notice get missed a lot?
I was going to say any industry is honestly like looking up from what you're doing and saying hi to somebody. That's like, I feel like that should be a no-brainer, but I think in this day and age when we live with so much technology that I think we hear so many things and we don't even look up from the thing that we are doing, and we just give a very random automated response without actually looking up, looking at that person, and genuinely being interested in what they have to say.
Engagement, eye contact, just making the person feel like they actually matter because they do. I think heard. That is, what's that? Being heard, right? Being seen and heard. That's a massive thing. And in fact, we just interviewed somebody possibly for a position here at our office. And one of the biggest things is that how addicted were they to their cell phone, or how important was their cell phone to them? And it was incredibly important because of their main job. They were here, they were interviewing for a part-time role, but their job, pretty much their lifeline is their phone. Like, they have to have their phone on all the time. And I had said to this individual, I was very nice, very, very candid and upfront though, and I said, I don't know if this is going to be the right position for you because you cannot be on your phone at the front. You cannot be on the phone on station one and on your cell phone. And customer service, the customer interaction is key. Now, they seemed really, really amazing at customer service. They seemed like they would be able to deliver on the job. But even she agreed that her phone was her lifeline to her primary job, and that if she were to miss said phone calls, it could cost her an opportunity.
Right, and I don't want to be responsible for that. But
no.
Again, having those hard conversations up front is vitally important. So, like, if you come to hiring, like, those are the things that you need to definitely ask. But, checking in, and yes, she's an amazing person, great with customer service. But for us in our industry and the expectation that we set for our clients to be able to experience, we need that one-on-one. And so I can't have somebody welcoming somebody and then beep, beep goes their phone and away goes that attention, because then that customer service, sometimes in a blink of an eye, in a split second, you have 30 seconds to meet and engage with that client for the potential to do business with them, to build a relationship with them, to ask a question if there's an opening. You have probably less than 30 seconds to be able to do that. And just being open and being engaging. And Dave Meltzer always says, be interested, be more interested than interesting.
Yeah.
that's
that's
where
really
just
good. I
really
was just
being
like
engaged
writing that down.
with that person right in front of you. So I think that is step one from customer service. And it sounds like it's a no-brainer, but I just think with where the world is and the technology and how everybody works these days, stepping away from any of those electronics and being in that moment with a person is super important. But then also having a question of a follow-up, right? Not just saying like, hey, how are you? And if somebody says, great, again, that's pulling that person. They're not being forthcoming with you either. And so having a more engaging way to say something of like, Skip, it's so great to see you. We've been expecting you, right? Say something different than what the entire rest of the world is saying to that person in that moment.
I think that is absolutely pivotal is to be able to create that connection and then make every client feel as important as what they really are. And just because they're making a transaction in your office, just because they're making a transaction in your business, because ultimately they are paying you for a service, make that service that they're paying you for incredibly important. That they are the only one paying you that day, at that time, at that moment for the service that you just rendered, and making it incredibly personable and a simple thank you. I remember sitting in, well, here's the thing. Everybody says thank you. They do. Very few say you're welcome. And I think that is something that is overlooked a lot, is never saying you're welcome. I remember sitting in, is it Sixth Try with Tracy Littrell, and we were in physical diagnosis class at Palmer College, and she specifically said that. She said, she just made a statement to the class. It was first day, first that trimester, and she said, you guys, I'm going to tell you something right now. Make sure whenever anybody tells you thank you, you say you're welcome. She said, because it's incredibly important to that person to hear it back. But more importantly, what I see it as is this: it's an affirmation to validate what the person just did. And when they say thank you, you are actually providing a validation on, you are receiving that thank you. That thank you has been heard. It has actually meant something to you. And then saying you're welcome back reaffirms to that person in front of you that it's that important. And you recognize how important the service you just rendered or thing you did for them was for them, because they thank you. And most people say what? If I say, hey, Julie, not you, but yeah, sometimes, thank you. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, not you're welcome, but oh yeah, it's different. Especially up here, it's always oh yeah, oh yeah, like that's what it is, and it doesn't validate, or it doesn't actually acknowledge the person's heartfelt thanks for what you just did for them.
I was just like trying to think, like we raise our kids to say please and thank you. At what point in their life do they lose that? Or does it come back to the home front of that engagement within the family of we say please and thank you, or we're not acknowledging our children? And so then that's where those habits begin.
I think they're taught please and thank you, but they're not taught you're welcome. They're not. And that's, I think, thinking about that with our kids is that we actually, I've never actually sat with Brecken or Peyton and been like, no, when they say thank you, you say you're welcome. You're taught to give the pleasantry or the thanks, but you're really not taught to receive it. And that there's layers to that onion then is to receive it, right? And receive the thank you, and to receive like somebody paying for your dinner, or somebody doing something for you, to be able to receive it. But a thank you is the same thing. It's the exact same thing out there, guys, is saying thank you to somebody and you not saying you're welcome back. You getting a thank you and you not saying you're welcome back. That does not validate or give credit to the person.
That person needs to be able to give, and somebody else needs to be able to receive. And so when only one party participates in that, even if it's just a little dialogue, but there, like you said, there's so many layers to it that
there is.
Closes down that situation.
And I think people actually feel bad about saying thank you. I mean, saying you're welcome, not thank you. Most people will say thanks or thanks, but most people will feel bad to say you're welcome. They feel it's almost disingenuous and odd. I remember when I said you're welcome to somebody and actually genuinely meant it, I felt weird. I almost felt like I was caught with my pants down. Like I was like, what in the hell? Like, to say that to somebody where they're like, thank you so much for this, but then to turn around and put a bow on it and say, you're welcome, almost feels like you got in the last word, even though that's not what it means. So say you're welcome. Like, that is key. And say you're welcome when they say thank you. That is a big thing in customer service and client communication, and just making everything feel extremely special. The other one that I have that's really important is dealing with asks in a timely manner. So if your client asks something of you, whether it's information or an email or a letter or anything they need, to deal with it in a timely manner, not when it's appropriate for you. Because when it's appropriate for you, it could be in a month, right? But doing it in a timely manner, no, I would say that I am not the best at this. It's the truth. I'm about 50-50. I'm good at it sometimes if I sit down and do it right away, but if I don't, it'll get put off. It does all the time. You're opposite. And actually, so is our other associate doctor. She's opposite too. Where if she sits down and gets after it right away, she does it. But if it gets missed, it's easy for us to get sidetracked. And it could be because we're just October babies. Because it's my birthday in a few weeks. So in your mind, how do you feel? What's good for timeliness in responding to patient questions, client questions? What's the best way to reciprocate timeliness to a patient or to a client?
Well, if we're talking about this, within a professional setting, that say it's in the moment of somebody's looking for something, or a letter takes a little bit longer to do. So then it's actually, yes, I'd be happy to write that for you. When is your latest date that you need that, right? So getting that of like, oh, well, by this date, great. Then you at least have a deadline. But again, if this person in front of you truly means value to you, that you value that relationship that you have with that person, you're not going to wait until that last minute to do it, right? So they've kind of given you a boundary, but if you have downtime, get that thing done as soon as possible, right? It's always, people say, under promise, over deliver.
Right.
So that'd be that same thing. If somebody isn't expecting something for like a week, or if they say, okay, I don't need the letter for 2 weeks, maybe in your head, then, okay, you tell them I will have it to you by Friday. But then something's open up in your schedule and you have it by Wednesday. That is that they were not expecting something until Friday, right? So first you said, yes, I'll write the letter. That's a win. They're like, oh my gosh, thank you so much for being able to do that. Then you said you're going to have it done by Friday. But then if you have that over to them by Wednesday, then they're, oh my gosh, thank you so much. And wow, I must have really meant a lot to you that you were able to, move up your schedule to be able to accommodate that thing for that person.
Yeah, and I think that point segues to one more thing, and that is, I wrote it down, is being accessible. Now, what I mean is that not just Joe Schmo gets in to talk to you. If you have team and front desk and even family, like protect mom and dad, if the robocall comes, mom and dad don't need to receive that, but then being accessible though to a point where returning the call in a timely manner, returning the text in a timely manner, I think a lot of chiros, and our coach talks about this a lot. Sean Dill and Lacey talk about this a lot. Actually, our partners do, is that most people make it extremely inconvenient for their clients and their customers to work with them, to access them, when it should actually be extremely easy. Because then they come first. That client comes first. That communication comes first. And I know that if I need something, I'm usually responded back to very quickly. And it depends on the level that I engage with them at.
I remember when we first opened our clinic, and our first coach at that time was, will I give my cell phone to all of my patients?
Yeah, Dr. Ogie.
And that was kind of like, whoa, what do you mean? Aren't your clients going to abuse that? Well, let me tell you, 15 years, we've been giving out our cell phone.
Some people even forget they have it in their phone.
The amount of clients and patients that we've taken care of in 15 years, the thousands of people, you'd think that we'd be getting reached out to constantly.
All the time.
But we've also set a parameter of, you have my cell phone if it's an emergency. right?
We set the boundary.
You have your standards of, being able to communicate, if that's, your office phone, if that's messenger, texting, those communications. But that second lifeline is in that instance, because we always say everything that we do in our office is based off of the things of how we would want our family to be treated. And ear infections, emergencies, pregnant, like those things don't happen during regular business hours.
Never.
So to be accessible, for our clients to have accessibility to us in that moment of panic, in that moment of grief or uncertainty, for them to reach out to us, that is a lifeline for them. And so I think in this day and age, if you are a doctor and your clients, your patients don't have a way to reach you, that's a disservice to them. But just look at that amount of customer service that they could feel to be able to engage with you in that moment of, oh my gosh, my baby won't sleep, or like I've been throwing up for the past 2 hours. Do I need to go to the ER? Just to have, somebody else on the other end of that phone to say everything's going to be okay. Maybe they come in to see you, right? Or just to be able to have somebody else to talk to. That's amazing. So yeah, we're talking about customer service. Yes, it's customer service, but it's also being a genuine person.
Being a genuine person, and also people pay for levels of access to you, which is, it's the truth. It's the truth. And those that pay the highest level of access should have the easiest way to get a hold of you, which means if you're a chiropractor out there, everyone who's a patient and who sees you, because they're paying for that level of access for you to talk to you. Now, the sales guy that calls on the phone, no, he's trying to get you to pay him. So obviously that level of access should be way less, but being able to get back to people quickly. And also the other thing is too, is in our profession, unlike most professions of service, or you're providing a service, whether it's goods or adjustments, we actually see our clients less and less and less throughout their lifetime. And the hard part is, the really hard part, and the real secret is when you're seeing that patient less, but how do you make them feel just as important as they were in the beginning as they are now? And that's hard. It's not easy to do, because granted, when they come in to see you for wellness care, you are seeing them for a short period of time, once every couple weeks. And you don't get the same amount of time or the same amount of repetitions to see them as frequently as what you had in the beginning. So that communication, that direct line of access, that ability to talk one-on-one a lot is kind of taken away, which makes then your time with them even more valuable, even more important when they come in for their wellness visits, when they're seeing you once a week.
But that's where customer service comes to the forefront, that it doesn't matter if that's a brand new person in front of you, client that you're onboarding, or somebody that you've seen for years, they should get a welcome, just like a brand new person, to your office. Like you haven't seen them in forever.
Yeah.
That is being engaged.
Super
it's
exciting.
Not like, oh, hey, Joe's here. No big deal.
Transaction turns into a transaction.
Correct. And so it's being intentional, being in the moment and being present with that person. Because, I mean, even, in whatever industry you're in, sometimes you're only seeing that client for 2 to 3 minutes. But when you're intentional and you are direct with that person, those 3 minutes, like we've asked some of our clients, it feels like it's 10, been 15 to 20 minutes.
Yep. And it's the engagement. So being engaged with that client, being engaged with the people in front of you and that customer, to make sure that they feel it that way. And it's the same thing in your family as well, folks, is the people in your family, the people in your life. And if you guys caught our last podcast episode last week on timing, we were just coming off the death of my father, like literally 24 hours, and we were recording that. But the timeliness of spending time with your family, making sure that when you're with them, it counts. And that when you're with your kids or your grandkids, some of you listen to this are grandparents, and our patients that listen to this too, like just making sure the time that you do have with the people that matter to you, that it actually counts. And people will say that all the time. They give a lot of really good lip service to that. They're like, well, I want to create memories. I want to create lasting memories with my kids or my grandkids.
But are you doing anything to do that?
But what are you doing to do it?
Yeah.
Right. What are you doing to create the memory? Maybe the memory is exactly what the grandkid wanted, was sitting on the couch watching a movie with you. or acting goofy. It doesn't have to be zip lining. It doesn't have to be a massive adventure all the time. It's just the small things, like just came off of hunting with Brecken, sitting in a deer stand with each other for hours on end in the woods when it's quiet and boring, and he's making little corny jokes and moving around, and I'm like, hey dude, stop moving. And getting to spend time with him. And today in the car, on the car ride back, he thanked me for taking him. And I said, did you have fun? And he said, yeah, I had a lot of fun. I said, are you disappointed you didn't get a deer? You didn't get a deer. And he said, yeah, I'm a little disappointed. I do feel bad. And I said, but did you have a lot of fun with me? And he said, yes, it was a lot of fun. Thank you for taking me. And that created...
Did you say you're welcome?
I did. Yeah, I did. I did. I put my hand on his knee and I said, you're welcome, buddy, while I was driving, because I wanted him to know that it was important to me that he was there. But being intentional with your time, being intentional with your client, it comes right back to our podcast of last week, is intentional timeliness. And then lastly, I think that the last thing I want to talk about is having a space appropriate to what your ideal client, the person that's important in your life, feels. So having a space appropriate to make them feel special. Not just the run-of-the-mill cookie cutter looking place where there's actually uniqueness to the place that they walk into, that it just doesn't feel like every other chiropractic office. It just doesn't feel like every other Walmart or Target or Starbucks. Like there's actual character. But having the character of your place to be appropriate to who that person is in front of you, I think is incredibly key as well to making your clients feel extremely important. Like, what do we do for them? How do we handle things? How does our team talk? How does the phone get answered? How do we schedule? How specific do we schedule? All of that is done because it's important to how the office runs, but it's important for our patients to know that they have choices. I think one of the biggest problems that you could possibly do for a patient or for anybody in front of you if you're trying to schedule appointments with them is give them a willy-nilly schedule of this spot is wide open. Thursday afternoon's wide open. What time do you want? They don't know what to pick. And it's a disservice to them. It's like walking into a movie theater and having all the seats open. But the 2 seats in the middle of the theater, 4 rows up, that's perfect. Those are the only 2 seats that are taken. So now you have to decide where do you want to sit, and you can have paralysis by overanalysis. And one of the biggest things that protects and promotes all of your clients is the ability to say to them, do you want morning or afternoon? I'd like to come in the morning. Do you want early morning or later morning? Later morning. I have an appointment at 11:15. Okay. Do you have anything later? We have one spot available at 11:45. Pick. And some people will say that that's being way too tight on your schedules, that it's too hard on your patients. And actually, it's easier on your clients because you gave them 2 options. And it's not because you're trying to be mean. You're trying to protect and promote them with the time slots that are available to make sure that they get the best customer care possible, customer service, patient service, client service possible. And if we don't do that right, what happens? Doctor gets thrown off, care provider gets thrown off, person that's providing the service gets thrown off because the times just aren't stuck to. Therefore, the care or the service is diminished.
You know, we're talking about customer service, and we're talking about the service that we deliver, but we have to also look at the other side, that like if we go out to a dinner or a lunch, or you mentioned the movies, of also understanding that, okay, now we just talked about customer service and how be able to give great customer service, but it's also good on that receiving side. But if you're in that ticket line or at that restaurant, if you've seen everybody else and nobody, does their please and thank yous and you're welcome, sometimes just a nice greeting to your waitress or your waiter, or again, being considerate to that person in a ticket booth, will just change their day, which then will allow them to give better customer service to everybody else in their line.
So what you're saying is be nice and don't be a D word.
Absolutely.
Absolutely. I couldn't, this was a really fun episode, and I think the conversation that this all stemmed from was poor customer service experience at a place that we're at a lot, and we still can't figure out why they can't get their shit together, period.
They just need to hire me.
They need to hire the right people. Yeah, they just do. So Dr. Julie, do you have anything else you want to add to this amazing setup?
Nope, this is great. Thank you.
You are very, very welcome, Dr. Julie. And for everyone out there, go out there, get it done. Have a great day. Take care, everybody. Bye.